wrap up then, we're going to talk about Manchester City. Now, of course, we know Guardiola was announced as manager of the year. Do you think that it's the greatest ever Premier League success in terms, from 1992, if you compare it to the class of 92 and all of those teams, is what Guardiola's now achieved with four Premier League titles in a row the greatest success?
Well, it's history. No one else has achieved it, to win four titles in a row in England. We've had some great teams in the past, the likes of Liverpool, obviously Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson won 3 titles in a row, but nobody's ever done 4. So you got to take your hat off to Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. They got the job done. 4 titles in a row. It could have been only, obviously, he's won 6 Premier League titles now already, Pep Guardiola. It could have been 7, only Liverpool stopping them during that COVID year as well. So, yeah, Manchester City are the dominant force in England right now. Again, we all know about their finances and everything else, that they can sign the best players and everything else. So they're always building from a position of strength. But for Guardiola to keep his players motivated after winning the treble last year, that was probably the biggest challenge for him. But he obviously got a tune out of them again. He got them going when it looked like maybe Arsenal and Liverpool were maybe going to wrestle that title away from them. But City do what City do. The final few months of the season, they come alive, and it just seems like they thrive under pressure. And I wouldn't rule them out making it 5 out of 5 next year, because they are the benchmark right now. Arsenal ran them close this year, but again, they miss out. And if you're going to win the Premier League, you're going to have to finish above Manchester City. Simple as that.
Paul, what did you make of it? And actually, do you think that the whole FFP ongoing investigation, does that dampen the achievement? Is it hard to currently give credit to Guardiola because of what's going on? Or actually, is this level of success just unseen in the Premier League?
Yeah, it's unseen. But it's not just in the Premier League, but it's in the top flight of English football. I mean, nobody's ever won 4 in a row. I mean, this is going back to the beginning of football. This is an incredible achievement. You can't take anything away from them. I mean, what they've achieved on the football pitch, what he's achieved as a manager, rejuvenating his squad every year, having the motivation to go again, go again, go again. The man's a workaholic, and he's a motivator, and he's got an ability where we sit here and we go, he's changed football. You know, you look at the inverted fullbacks, you look at the way the goalkeepers play over the years. Football has changed, and he's been a big part of that. He's a professor, he's a studier of the game. And what he's done with that Manchester City team is nothing short of incredible. It's one of, if not the greatest achievements of a club side.
But is it the greatest?
Yeah, I think it is. I do. And I think it's always going to be overshadowed, because fans of other teams and people in the media will look and go, oh, yeah, okay, but what about these FFP charges, the PSR charges? And until these are resolved, which, by the way, Manchester City still adamantly deny that they've done anything wrong. They're going to fight them all the way. Until this is settled, then there will never be a harmonious agreement by everyone in football and out of football that it's the greatest achievement, because they will always have this hanging over them. But actually, the point you make is there was no spending cap previously. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't have a spending cap on him. When Blackburn Rovers won the Premier League under Sir Jack Walker, he didn't have a spending cap on him, hence the reason that they won the Premier League. Obviously, the money is relevant. What they spent back then to what they spend now, the value of money is very, very different. But if you put it on, on a level, what it was worth then and what it's worth now, teams have always been allowed to spend what they want. So Manchester City have done no different to what's been happening in football previously. And what they've done is an incredible achievement. But until the PSR and the FFP results are out there, that they're adjudicated on, and we've got some kind of ruling on them, then it's always going to hang over them until it's either that they're found guilty or that they're cleared of them. And it's always going to be there. But the level of achievement that he's had on the football pitch is unprecedented.
You can't question what they've done on the pitch. Maybe you can question what they've done off the pitch. That's probably the biggest scenario with them, because play some of the best football that we've ever seen in the Premier League as well. And obviously 4 titles in 4 years is it's history, as I said. Nobody else has ever done it. So, yeah, I think you got to give praise to Pep Guardiola and his squad of players.
That's absolutely outstanding. The achievement's incredible. Pete, in terms of transfers, looking at some ingoings and outgoings, are we expecting any exits this summer from the Etihad? Could we see a bit of rejuvenation of the squad, do you think?
Yeah, normally Pep Guardiola does try and freshen up the squad. Whatever the success they've had that previous season, I think he will look to maybe make a few signings there. It's not like you need many at Manchester City. The squad is so packed with international stars as well and everything else. But he won't rest on his laurels. He never does, because he knows that Arsenal will come again. And I'm sure other teams in the Premier League will be looking to close that gap. There was a surprise link earlier in the week about maybe Ederson potentially leaving the club. Been interest in him from teams in Saudi Arabia. So that might be one that Man City consider and think, right, do we feel we can cope without Ederson and bring in much needed revenue to help balance the books? They've got Ortega in there, who is a ready-made replacement.
Do you know what, Pete? I think you're right. I think, listen, I don't think that was ever in question until Ortega's come in this season and done what he's done. The way he played at Tottenham, he won them the league that night, the way he played at Tottenham. And I think speaking to people at Manchester City, there's a lot of faith in Ortega and the way that he plays. I would never, ever think that they would even consider letting Ederson go. But in Ortega, they've got a number one goalkeeper, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, obviously, there's been a few rumours that Ortega wasn't happy being number 2 under Ederson. So maybe this could answer a lot of problems for City if they let Ederson go. Ortega becomes number 1, signs a new contract, and they can bring in a number 2 who's happy to play second fiddle at the Etihad as well. And again, they get a big fee from Saudi Arabia for Ederson as well. So yeah, it does tick a lot of boxes when you do put it like that. Again, there will be question marks over Jack Grealish probably this summer. Hasn't played anywhere near as much as he did last season when they won the treble. Is Jack Grealish going to be happy with his lack of activity at the Etihad? That's one that's going to probably rumble on over the summer. Again, it's a difficult deal to do for him to potentially leave. He's on big wages and a big transfer fee as well. If anybody wanted to buy Jack Grealish in that respect. And Calvin Phillips, we do expect him to leave the Etihad probably this summer after his nightmare time at the club. And obviously his loan move to West Ham hasn't worked out. So City, again, I think will be open to offers for him. And then, as I'm sure, they'll be looking to bring in some more signings to keep the rest of the squad on their toes. So there's been a bit of talk that Pedro Neto at Wolves is somebody that Pep Guardiola likes and feels like he could come into that squad and improve them as well. And we all know, I think, from what we've seen of Neto on his day, he is world class. And again, for Wolves, it'd be a major blow to see him leave. But I think it's somebody that they might have to cash in on just due to their own PSR and FFP concerns. They're going to probably have to sell one of their best players this summer. And I'm sure Pedro Neto, if the opportunity came along that Manchester City tried to sign him, I think it's something that the player himself would push for as well.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.